welcome back to Rugby Pod. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual, and Beer 52 are with us throughout the Six Nations, offering you free beers. We've teamed up with Beer 52 for the Six Nations to bring you beer sourced and curated from the very best breweries on the planet, delivered straight to your door. Each case of 8 free beers comes with an award-winning beer magazine and some snacks, and there's no minimum commitment. So you can just take the free case, try the beers, and see what you think. You can pause or cancel at any point.
But don't pause or cancel.
Is go to beer52.com/rugby and cover the postage. That's the word beer followed by the number 52.com/rugby to get your first case of 8 beers for free. And you'll be supporting the Rugby Pod as well. How's your week been, boys?
Yeah. I mean, what do you reckon? Over to Jim. I've got nothing to say.
That's quiet. It's been a quiet weekend. Was it bollocks? I'm just looking forward to next week, humbly.
You want to explain what that sound was before?
That was the bagpipes of celebration.
Right.
It was going to be 20, 30 points to England, Goodey said. That's all I know is I'm going
and Jim, you said 10 points to England, so, you know.
What do you mean? I didn't say anything to England, did I?
Yes, you did, James.
The past is in the past. The past is in the past. It's not about me. It's not about England. It's all about Scotland. I was there.
It is.
You might have seen me, and I'm absolutely ball bagged now. It's taken me 2 days to get home. Beck's wondering why it's taken me 10 hours to get from London to Coventry, and I basically said that I was rolling slowly and watching the game on repeat, but she told me to get home quickly, which I did.
Why'd you go to Coventry?
Because I've got 4 kids, so I took a detour.
Oh, to stop you going home to Edinburgh quicker, right?
Of course.
I hear you.
Oh, what a weekend. Forget about the week leading up to it. What a weekend. Absolute privilege to be there, front and centre, a thorn between 2 roses, a thistle between 2 blankets, and I got to witness it firsthand. An absolute demolition job by the boys.
Outstanding job on the telly, mate.
Thank you very much. I was very nervous. Very nervous. So the wife thought I looked great. She was attracted to me once again, she said. She didn't just see me as this miserable father sat at home. So I took the 10-hour drive in my own COVID bubble on the Friday. I was going to leave Thursday, but felt a bit guilty. So I left on the Friday. Big shout out to Thrifty, Flexi Fleet for sorting me out. The comfortable ride. I won't name the car, but it starts with a B. It's got an M and a W in it. A lovely little drive on the way down. So thank you very much, humbly. And I had the best weekend I've had. And the funny thing is, the majority of it was on my own. So
was that funny?
I don't know. That's it. That's what we laugh about. Driving down.
That's normally when you have your best weekends, isn't it?
Yeah, podcasts, exactly. Podcasts, hanging out the window, Ace Ventura just screaming Scotland, honk the horn when I went over the border, banter.
You actually?
Of course I did. It's what I do. And I don't know how I've ended up on ITV. I have absolutely no idea how I've ended up with 2 World Cup winners and a 6-time wooden spoon winner. But I did. I was there. I was happy.
I mean, let's be honest, Jim, right? When people look at that panel, and you've just described yourself then, you've said a 6 times wooden spoon winner against 2 World Cup winners.
It could have been 5. It could have been 5.
Yeah. I might be biased, and I'm going to be very honest. Out of the 3 pundits, you were head and shoulders, well, literally because you're about 7 foot tall, but head and shoulders above those 2. I mean, you brought entertainment, you brought a bit of banter, you brought some serious insight, and you were humble as well, to be fair. But honestly, listening to Sir Cliff, the only thing I was disappointed in, you promised me you were going to call him Sir Cliff, and you didn't.
I just called him Cliff. I called him Cliff.
Okay, you were amazing, mate. And, that's the way I think punditry should be done, with a bit of humour, obviously some serious context in there as well, some obviously deep rugby knowledge, which you showed, and then Sir Clive's talking about the 2003 World Cup again. I mean, let it go, Clive. let it fucking go, son.
Of course they're going to, mate. They won the World Cup. It was, it was great. They were very warm towards me, and they gave me the platform to talk about the victory, which I thought was nice, because there is this thing, Big Jim's born in Swindon, and what? Swindon's north of the Hebrides, if you didn't know, geography, physics, or whatever it is. And they gave me the platform to express my emotion after the game, which I thought was very nice. And they had over 8 million people, I was going to say watching me. Obviously they weren't.
They were, mate.
Watching, yeah, there might have been. There might have been a few watching me. So for anyone who's messaged me to say well done. That was greatly received and it gave me a boost. And I was driving home on Sunday and I got up fairly early because Beck told me I need to get home because she's got the 4 kids. And I'm loving life. I've got the music on, I'm buzzing, the boys have won. I get home and I am absolutely ball bagged. And it's because I've been away from the kids for so long. But go back to it. I was lucky to be at the game, live games, and we spoke about it. The Autumn Nations Cup, there was an air of, I don't really know what it's about. It's on Amazon, like it's another platform to watch it. But the romance around the Six Nations, as we know, is historic. It's embedded in a lot of people, and there was huge appetite for that at the weekend. And from a Scottish perspective, I'll tell you what, we rose to the occasion. One thing that I should say that I found really weird, and I watched the game back again this morning just to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, because you are quite far away from the pitch where we were stood, was the atmosphere in the stadium. When you're watching it on TV, they've got it down to a T now in terms of the crowd noise and the clapping and when a try scored, or when Scotland scored a try, sorry. And when you're at the stadium, it is so eerie. It's unbelievable. Like it's just so surreal to be there watching a test match with no fans.
What are you doing during the game? Are you talking with Sir Cliff and Johnny or what?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Was there any banter from Johnny or Sir Cliff?
Me and Johnny were talking about injuries. We were talking about kids. We were talking about when we're going to go out to Magaluf.
Has he got kids?
Well, I don't want to be sending him a platform. I think he's got one kid. I think he's got a little girl.
Oh,
so
nice.
If Johnny Wilkinson is going to come to Jim Hamilton about anything, it's going to be chop tackle and it's going to be kids. Right? There's 2 things, that's it. He's going to come to me for. And we were chatting about that. Me and Johnny got a really good relationship. We were in Magaluf together. I say together, he was there and I was there in Magaluf. We were basically together in 2001.
There's a big difference between your holiday and in Magaluf. He ain't in Magaluf, mate. He's in the good part of Mallorca.
Which is where?
Where the houses are about €6 million a pop.
I didn't even know Magaluf was in Mallorca. I just thought Magaluf was Magaluf.
No, mate. No.
So we were there, and yeah, lovely bloke. And Sir Clive was very respectable, and he knew my name, so I was happy about that. But
so no band.
Yeah, a bit of band. Yeah, of course there was.
Any gags?
Yeah, well, I wore a tailor-made jacket, so I was very happy. That fit very well. So I felt, you know, when you dress well and you're happy with what you got on, your gear.
Did you leave the coat? Did you leave the coat hanger in the back?
Did I? Did it look too big again? Did it? I thought I put on a bit as well. I said to Johnny as we were about to go on air, I said, mate, you've been to Shoreditch for that, have you? And he just smiled. Yeah, I don't think he's ever been to Shoreditch, but he had a jacket that looked like he had. But no, very, very privileged to have been there. I'll reiterate it. So I'm buzzing. And the fact that the boys won in the manner in which they did, the scoreline, I don't think reflected the game. Anyone can say that. But 38 years, lads. I've taken a year off. So basically, I've taken a year off my life. So basically, I weren't born the last time Scotland won down there. So
yeah,
loving it.
We'll get into the detail of the game in a bit. But last question from me about the whole weekend, your scenario. You're flying home, well, slowly, so you don't want to get home too quick. But you've got home. You said you're on cloud 9. You've been a bit of a legend on the TV. We saw you posted the video of the kids watching it as well, which I thought was amazing. Really nice to see. How good is it for that first 5 minutes when you walked in the door, the kids are happy, they're fucking jumping on you. Oh, Dad, saw you on TV. How long did it take to go back to the square one where you're like, fuck you?
Shouting at them. Well, shouting at them.
Yeah, exactly.
It was about 10 minutes into the Wales Island game while I was still watching rugby again. I'm like, I'm an expert analyst. I need to be getting on my phone, tweeting as Goodey's eating and putting it out there. But yeah, like the kids don't know, do they? I'm trying to watch it when the Wales Island game and pass judgment, and we can talk about that game as well when the kids are there. But look, you know, when your dad's working in the TV industry, you're not going to see him as much as you hope.
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out to my missus as well this week because, as we know, there's a lot of sport been on. I've been in bed. The twins make a lot of noise, don't they, Jim? Your twins, I'm sure they do the same.
I did that this weekend, didn't you?
Well, exactly. But the missus on Saturday and Sunday took them out between the hours of 12 and about 5 o'clock, off on a big walk to a couple of parks for a picnic in the cold. And I just got free reign to watch all the ruggers I wanted. Seen Six Nations, seen Premiership, watched the Super Bowl, watched football, Man City, Liverpool, domination. It was just amazing. So this week, my missus tipped the slipper to you.
Let's look at that game though, Jim. Be honest. you didn't see it coming.
No, I didn't. Historically, again, 38 years haven't won there. England's second best team in the world. Scotland's 2 pro teams not performing overly well. No fans. So you're thinking, on the basis of that we're probably not going to win, and we're hoping just to play well and play with a bit of pride and beat Wales at home the following week. That's from the outside when you're not on the inside bubble. That performance has been brewing for a while.
Yeah.
The way that Scotland have played, the pressure that they've put on teams, their defence has been really good under Steve Tandy's flip-flop for a while now. The line-out was exceptional with the Autumn Nations Cup. The scrum as well. Finn Russell back in the team. So actually, you start looking at this as the team is playing and the game's unfolding. Hamish Watson, world-class player, hasn't played that well in quite a while, to be fair. Cam Redpath coming in at 12. Everyone's talked him up. Can he perform at that level? It's his debut. He was unreal. And you know why he was unreal? Because they got the ball in his hand that early. And the way that Scotland played the game and the variety which they played with off the lineouts, how controlled they were in chaos is what impressed me. And I watched the game back and they were under loads of pressure in the first few minutes. Maro Itoje on the charge down, then Johnny Hill goes off his feet. You do wonder. I thought Andrew Brace had a brilliant game. And this is the thing with referees, right? You wonder that penalty that Johnny Hill gave away, going off his feet with Maro, when Maro's got that turnover. You've seen them play on because it's a turnover, it's happening so quickly. You wonder if the fans are there, whether some of these penalties go with the away team. Like you have to ask that question. But I think Scotland adapted the best to there being no fans, and they looked absolutely primed in all facets. The physicality, bar Maro, who would have been up there with most of Scotland in terms of physicality, man for man, England were absolutely dominating. And look at Finn Russell. I looked at it again today. Look at his defence. He is not just tackling, he is putting in dominant hits compared to Owen Farrell, where you've got Cam Redpath running down his channel and they're soak-up tackles. It must be so difficult. I'll reiterate, being in the stadium, it must be so difficult to get up for that game that it would be if there was fans in the stadium. And I think that was in favour of Scotland because it is the biggest game for them. So regardless if there's fans or no fans, is it the biggest game for England? Do England know about Duhan van der Merwe, who's playing on the wing? Do they know how good he is? You know, do they really, really know how good George Turner's been for Glasgow when he carries the ball? Do they know who Rory Sutherland is? You know, do they know Matt Fagerson when he's carrying? Do they know Scott Cummins? That's the thing. When you play against France or a New Zealand or a South Africa for your England, like there's that level of respect. And I genuinely think, you look at the comments in the lead up to the game of Eddie Jones or whatever.
Ben Youngs as well.
Yeah. Have England respected Scotland the way that Scotland deserved to be respected? Well, if they didn't, I'll answer you the question. They bloody do now.
Yeah, mate. It's because I didn't prepare the team right, mate. I take it all on myself, mate. It's not the players, it's me, Eddie Jones here, mate. Fucking, I don't know why we didn't have any possession. I don't know why we kick it away all the time. Fucking, yeah, mate. It's rugby, eh? We're going through this phase of kicking in defence. But in reality, Eddie, it's your own fault. We've been talking about it for a while, and we'll get onto some of the England stuff in a bit. It is all about Scotland, though. Scotland dominated every facet of the game. And you actually sit here now this week and think about it and go, actually, why didn't we think that, and I'm sure we both said it at one point last week on the pod, that who knows, there is a chance you could equally see Scotland causing a big ruckus and winning down there as you could see England winning by 2030. And I think that was what we said last week. But you look at it now, you look at the team selection, and you always go spine the team. People talk about the Saracens players and all this stuff. Jamie George at hooker, Maro Itoje at second row, Billy Vunipola at 8, Owen Farrell at 10 and Elliot Daly at 15. That's a third of your starting team. I haven't played rugby since December 6th. I haven't played any rugby. Billy's played against the Trailblazers, all right. So Scotland dominated them physically, right? And you think about some of the penalties. Maro, people talk about how great Maro was. Mate, if that's Jim Hamilton doing that in a Scotland shirt a few years ago.
I'm off after 20 minutes.
You've given 4 or 5 penalties away, and Jamie George has come out after the game and said, it wasn't that we were not match fit. Well, match fitness isn't just running up and down and how far can you run for and how long can you run for. It's about sharpness as well. So the penalties that Marrow's given away, we've always said it on here. He's a walking penalty machine when he gets refereed sometimes, and he lived on the wrong side of the edge. And people saying he played great. Oh, he's physical. Yeah, he got a couple of charge downs. He gave a load of penalties away. And that came from Scotland's pressure. That came from how Scotland were dealing with, the kick, the high ball. Johnny May, what are you doing? 2 real straightforward catches.
Sean Maitland scared him. And Sean Maitland's not played either, but he scared him.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing. So when you talk about that England start and how, we lack direction, understanding of how to play the game of rugby. But one thing I did notice, and you talk about players not necessarily appreciating who they're playing against. So remember when Ben Youngs chucked the ball in the 22 across the face of about 4 players, and the ball gets picked up, Cam Redpath boots it down the line. Anyone watch how quick Van der Merwe is? He's like a racehorse, mate. Yeah. If that stays in, that's a try. He's won the race easily against Elliot Daly. If you watch the replay back, I'm like that. My God, he's quick. But they, bar Finn had 2 crazy moments, right? The trip, which, is a reaction thing, and then the drop goal at the end, which we might get to. Finn, his control of the game, ain't even a question about who should start at Lions 10. Farrell, you ain't even in the squad at the minute, son, the way you're playing. Finn Russell dominated the game in terms of tactics. Hoggy, the best I've seen him play. And Hoggy always plays very well. He had a couple of slip-ups. He dropped the ball against Ireland last year, but he's been phenomenal for Scotland.
Oh my goodness.
He was at another level. What about the spirals? When he's running up, you can't talk about the skill enough. Doing a spiral kick from being standing still is, it's not an easy skill, but it's easier. He's doing it running flat out. It's the toughest skill to do as a kicker possible. And it goes about 60 metres, lands about a metre out from the corner flag. Across the board, they were physical. Scotland, they dominated the set piece. Everything that Eddie Jones said about how he wanted England to play, Scotland did to England. This white wave that Ben Youngs talked about, it was a blue wave everywhere. They were awesome. And I can only blame 2 people for this result. Well, 3 people. We'll blame Eddie Jones as one. Secondly, whoever was in charge of recruitment and promoting kids from the academy at Leicester Tigers back in the day when Hamish Watson was there, what were you thinking? That's Jed Glynn. It's got to be Jed Glynn, so I blame him. And then thirdly, Chris Robshaw, because if they'd had that game against the Barbars last year, they'd have another 80 minutes under their belt, and who knows what the difference could have been. So fair play to Scotland. I tipped my slipper, my flip-flop, my hat, whatever you want to tip. They were phenomenal. And it's been waiting to happen. You think about all the games that have gone on between England and Scotland over the last 4 years. Last year, Scotland could have won it in the rain. The year before, could have, should have won it 38.
Basically did.
31, and then they won it the year before. So, Eddie Jones, if you don't respect the Scots now, you just walk away, son, because Scotland have done a job on you again.
How much of a difference do you think Cam Redpath made to the Scotland side?
Massive. And you've got to live up to the hype sometimes, and sometimes you don't, do you? Sometimes you'll talk about a player before the game in the build-up the last couple of weeks, and Cam Redpath's been everywhere. Any media outlet, he's put himself out there. I interviewed him for Rugby Pass. I saw him on another podcast as well in the media. He's made the leap from being in that England environment to Scotland. There was talk of him going to be starting. So there's huge pressure on him, right, to rock up. And he's up against Ollie Lawrence's old teammate from playing for England back in the age group stuff. And my word, he got the ball early. They got him into the game early. They got him on the front foot. Some of his carries. Now, I've watched him for Bath a little bit. Quite rangy, powerful. Power when he carries. He's a Redpath. He's going to be hard, off the back of the jeans.
He's quick as well.
And he's rapid. You see off the line out where he went straight in the crease to Farrell, between Jamie George and Farrell. Went straight for him. Yeah. Straight for the captain. Now, whether or not that's meant or not, it's maybe 5 or 6 metres off the back of that. So you talk about his carries, he's got an unbelievable turnover as well, but his energy, he was desperate for it. And again, the way that Scotland played and the way that their games evolved, knowing that England got a fantastic line-out, they adapted. And again, we can talk about the Welsh line-out, which is a big talking point. England got a wicked line-out. So Scotland found a way to manipulate that situation, to get the ball into the centre's hands as quickly as possible. So he's added a completely different layer. And again, you talk about Gregor Townsend and Eddie Jones, the difference is, on the whole, Gregor Townsend has picked on form. All them players in that team are picked on form. Okay, apart from Sean Maitland, who I know why they've picked him because of his aerial ability and Johnny May's lack of aerial ability, knowing they're going to have to kick against England. So he was probably the anomaly that didn't fit potentially the form players. I've not seen Sean play. He's not played in a while. So on that, Chris Harris has been playing well for Gloucester. He's been playing really well for Scotland every time that he's played. Hoggy and Johnny Gray. Johnny Gray's performances have gone through the roof now. So on that read, that's how you should do it. Like, England ain't playing Italy. No disrespect. You're playing against Scotland.
Well, they are this week.
France. Well, they are this week, and who knows what we do. Imagine. But, again, you go back to it. You look at, forget the World Cup. World Cup was a shocker for Gregor Townsend. But you actually look now, and you saw the emotion after the game, obviously. This has been building and building and building. The thing with Finn, I think, has actually helped. What happened last Six Nations, it probably made Gregor assess how he coaches, how he deals with the group of players, the different personalities, and that's what you get. Scotland needs to back up. I think they will.
Grand Slam, Jim?
This week I'm saying yeah. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's get a headline. Jim Hamilton is saying Scotland for the Grand Slam.
Hilarious.
Hey, Wales or Ireland didn't scare me.
No. And you talk about Cam Redpath, and I go back to, I used to coach a school team when I first retired, not far from where I live, at Berkhamsted, and we played Sedbergh one day, and Cam Redpath was playing at fly half for Sedbergh, and little Brian Redpath, his dad, was on the side of the pitch, and I had a bit of banter with him, a bit of a chat afterwards, and I always remember it because I've gone up to him afterwards. I'm like, mate, he's a hell of a player, isn't he? Your son, he ripped us to pieces. You could see then he was a different gravy, and you could see how good he was going to be in a step up pretty quickly to men's rugby. And I went up to Brush afterwards, Brian Redpath, and I said, mate, how good's he? He'll be wearing an England shirt soon, won't he? And Brian Redpath went, fucking too right, mate. 20 grand a game, eh? He's gone for the money, not for the Scotland, eh? I said, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about him wearing white when you're such a passionate little angry Scotty dog Scotsman? He's like, I don't care, mate. It's about the money. Eh? Now look.
If I got a Lamborghini, if he buys me a Lamborghini, I'm all right.
Yeah. Now look at him. So fair play. Cam Redpath, outstanding performance. A lot of talk pre-match around what he could have, should have done, and we said it a few weeks ago, didn't we? He could be a 70, 80 cap international at least for Scotland, and he started out on a hell of a front foot.
Yeah, and I also want to give Dave Cherry a shout out as well. The hooker who came on, both George Turner and him, 30 years old to come on and make a debut. I didn't give him a shout out on TV. There was so much going on. I thought the physicality that he showed as well was class. We actually tried to get Hamish Watson on the podcast, so we should tell the millions that Hamish Watson was going to come on, but he's been blocked. It's like
he wanted to come on, didn't he? There's a few Scotland boys that wanted to come on the podcast today.
They wanted to come on.
A bit of a chat and have some fun.
Well, Goodey, you've already mentioned a few things about England, but surely some changes have got to be made to that side.
It's interesting, isn't it? And you go back to what they've said about the squad and the changes that you can bring in. You can't make wholesale changes to the squad now. So, as much as I'm beating the drum for the Simmons boys and hello, Eddie, Sam Simmons scored again. I think he scored his 9th try in 8 Premiership games at the weekend. I don't think they can be brought into the squad yet. So he's picking from within the squad. Now, you look at some of the players, and the funniest comment, I think maybe a little bit disrespectful, but I'm still going to chuckle at it. Matt Williams, the ex-Scotland coach, was on Irish TV, I think, at the weekend, and he described Billy Vunipola as something along the lines of, if you didn't know pubs were shut because of the pandemic, you'd think he'd been sat in one for a long time, because he apparently he looks absolutely horrific in terms of shape and fitness and all that stuff. A bit harsh, and it was said once.
Say it to his face. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, a bit harsh, and it was said somewhat. I remember reading one of those things about me once after an England game. It said
very different. Billy Vunipola or Andy Goode, very different.
Well, it's the same rhetoric, though, isn't it? It says he looks more like he's just come out the pub than being a professional athlete. So, I mean, Billy's always said, and people have always said about Billy, he plays his best when he's playing loads of matches and he's got time on the field under his belt. So, on that note, he shouldn't have played. at the weekend because he had no form, no fitness behind him, and he gets fitter and better the more he plays. So Eddie's in a complete conundrum now, because when you look at some of the performances, Owen Farrell, Billy, to name a couple, Elliot Daly at fullback, missed the one-on-one tackle. I don't think he played particularly well. Johnny May's got credit in the bank. He was really poor. But, there's a number of players that are getting picked personally from, in my opinion, on reputation. And that's Eddie's prerogative, right? And it's been happening for a while. People have banged on about it around the style of rugby we play, the physicality, and there's no plan B. He shifted Farrell back to 10. Farrell hasn't played 10 in donkey's years. I say donkey's years, obviously, that's the exaggeration. He has played there for Saracens. When was the last time he played there for England? Because George Ford played in the autumn. He's played no rugby. But then Farrell that was his worst game I've ever seen him play for England. No leadership, no direction as a 10. He kicked his goals, tackling, as Jim said, soak up tackles. And there's a big issue now for Farrell, because since he got that red card, you think how aggressive he used to be in tackling and smashing people when he lived on that danger zone around how he belted people. And then he got found out with, what should have been a yellow card against Africa 2 years ago, whatever it was. And he's never flying into tackles anymore as hard as he used to, because people say he's working on his technique, and, he's come out and said it. You don't see any difference in his technique at all. You see a difference in how hard he throws his shoulder into contact, because he knows he's living on that edge of, this is how I tackle. If I get a couple of inches wrong, I'm off again. So that's why Cam Redpath, and that's why I think Scotland tested him and thought, we're going to run at Farrell, and we're going to actually run at his inside shoulder, outside shoulder, because when he's on form, he wants to fly into those tackles. It might lead to a red card or whatever, or it might lead to someone getting absolutely banjoed. But what changes can you make? Mike Brown's come out and said, drop Owen Farrell, stick him on the bench, get George Ford back in at 10. So the changes he can make are quite restrictive around the environment that he's got to have because of the Six Nations bubble, the 28 players he's picked, the agreement with the Premiership club. So he can't just bin a load of the boys off and bring guys in from the exterior. So you can only change from within what you've got. Carl Sinclair will come back in this week. His ban finishes. I think he's been with the squad anyway. Mako's back, but again, Mako hasn't played. So, you take Genge off and put Mako in. Johnny Hill, you might question his performance, but who do you pick? Charlie Ewells is the only, or Courtney Laws is the two of the second row options. And Eddie now, Billy Vunipola, I don't think should be playing for England at the minute on form. I don't think he's done it for a while. But who's he got in there to change? Do you put Wilson to 8 and Jack Willis to 7? One thing, Eddie Jones, you're looking at him now this weekend. We're playing Italy, who, let's be honest, they're the worst team in the tournament by a country mile. And everyone would expect, after seeing what France did to them, England to put 50 on them this weekend. If it was a normal scenario. But now it's not a normal scenario, because if he makes no changes, these players will just crack on, and there's no kind of recourse for having a bad performance. If you're George Ford and you sit on the bench again this week, surely you're going up to Eddie Jones and going, mate, how are you starting Owen Farrell at 10 again after that performance? But then does he drop Owen Farrell, or does he shift him to 12 because he's his captain? Then do you take Ollie Lawrence out of the team, who hasn't touched the ball hardly in his 3 or 4 tests that he's played now because of the direction and the tactics that England are playing? So many questions for Eddie Jones. Only he's got the answers, because he does what he wants and he's restricted to the changes that he can make. Do you give Harry Randall a go? Do you give Paolo Adogwu a go? If you don't give him a go now, you ain't giving him a go in the Six Nations, are you?
Well, that's the thing. That's the beauty of playing against Italy. Like, you can make the changes. One thing that I find mental, and more so around England, I don't look at any other newspapers or media, is the way that the media interacts with sports teams. You're the second best team in the world. Made the final of the World Cup, won the Six Nations, won the Autumn Nations Cup. It's one bad. I know the performances weren't that good in the Autumn Nations Cup. You've lost one game, and let's not take the piss now. Scotland are a good team. Would it be the same panic stations if it was France who did that? Arguably, yes, because of the way in which they played. But the media just love it. They're just like, loads of changes,
But I don't think. I understand your point, but then the media have been saying for a long time, and I've been part of that, saying England have got plan A, no plan B. What's your plan B? Where are you evolving to? What's your attack look like? How do we go from being, and you think back a couple of years, go back to Eddie Jones playing Scotland 4 years ago, he put 62 points on them at Twickenham. We played ball in hand, heads up, attacking.
I don't remember that.
Well, no, I know. I'm not bringing that up just because you've won the Calcutta Cup. I could have picked other teams as well. Where's all that gone in England's performances? Like, yeah, we won games, but we've won it in a turgid way. We've won it in a way where we're just battering teams to death, out-muscling them, and all the things that Eddie Jones said, we want to be the toughest team to play against ever. We want to be the greatest ever team. It's all just words, Eddie, right? The attack is non-existent around an understanding of how to manipulate a defence, how to move a defence around. There was a 7-on-3 at one point, and we've just kicked it. And you're like, hold on a minute, these boys are just programmed to play a certain way. There's no free thinking in there at all. And that comes from having a coach like Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones has been super successful, but with all the success, with all the pats on the back you get, equally, when you've had a performance like that, which in a massive competitive fixture is probably England's worst performance. I mean, I played better than that when I played, and I was shit for international rugby, I'll be honest. Right? Some of the performances we had when we were transitioning from the 0-3 winners to, whoever's in next because Johnny was injured, we were shite, but we weren't as shite as that the weekend. And they're meant to be the second best team in the world at the moment.
I'll be honest, I don't think, apart from that Wasps game at Allianz Park a few years ago where we got 50 points, I don't think I've ever played that much.
So you have to ask these questions, and Eddie didn't like the question. Do you hear the questions?
Yeah. Martin Bayfield, he asked him about Ollie Lawrence not getting the ball, and he was like, he wasn't asking it. Martin Bayfield knows the answer to why Ollie Lawrence didn't get the ball.
Because they kick it away.
Well, and because they didn't have any possession. But it's almost
why
like
we get possession as well.
Well, exactly. But the arrogance of the way and the attitude that it's shown, where's the humility, man? Like that's and that's where I think a lot of people are. It's like, because England, and we've spoken about it loads. Everyone's biggest game is England, because generally they're the best team, but also there's this kind of arrogance around them. I'm a quarter English, I could say. I've played majority of my career for English clubs. And, there's arrogance, confidence, whatever you want to call it. But I think you watch that behaviour after. Again, it wasn't that bad, but really it was. You could just. Do you get what I mean? You get the sense of the energy that was coming off it.
Yeah, it's like when Eddie Jones gets asked about selection. He goes, "Oh, yeah, hindsight's great, isn't it? Anyone can select a great team in hindsight." But these are things, when you're the gaffer, when you're making the decisions and it doesn't go right, you as the press, the media, whatever, you have the right to ask these questions and hold them to task, because if they'd won by 40 points, you'd have gone, Eddie, great decision, pat you on the back. It was right to pick those Saracens boys. And I said it in a column for Rugby Pass. I said, we'll only know if the selection's right as the game pans out. And you can see that those boys, from the outside, they're off the pace. And, when you've got a third of your team and the spine of the team, 2, 4, 8, 10 and 15 who haven't played in months, you should have picked some of them. I'm not saying don't pick them all, but Karen Dickey's been on fire for Exeter. You probably should have started him ahead of Jamie George if you want someone that's.
He was very good when he came on.
Yeah.
Luke Karen Dickey, he's been very good.
You start Marrow, you maybe play Owen at 12, and you maybe don't play Elliot Daly. I don't know. It's the way that Eddie Jones answers the questions leads to people disliking England and people disliking him, and people wanting to ask more questions and make it a tougher job for him, because of the way he wants to dominate press conferences, and he's always done that when he's winning with these throwaway lines that he had a few before the game, didn't he? And I remember John Barkley came out with stuff around, you haven't got a exclusivity on Pride and all this stuff, you ain't got a mortgage on it either, mate, or all that stuff. But yeah, and that meme that someone did, what about the video that I put out on Twitter, when someone's put you in at the end giving it, yeehaw!
This is the world that we live in now.
But it's fun, isn't it, as well?
It is fun. Like, if you're a player, I would have absolutely hated it. I would have been like, me, myself and Irene, like shadow boxing. But all these memes going around, it's good fun, isn't it? And if it's one game for England, I'm going to predict, now, I wouldn't put my mortgage on it, but I'm going to predict that England might just beat Italy at the weekend. just. It's the big one. It's the big one, but it's not the game of the weekend.
Manscaped are supporting us again this week, and I've got a new cologne out called Refine Cologne, which you said you loved last week, didn't you, Jim?
Genuinely, not an advert here at all. I sprayed it on myself and I was like, holy shoosh bags, I smell good.
I guarantee Johnny and Sir Cliff have got big old bushes. They don't.
They're old school. It's going to come back. This is the thing with Manscaped. They're going to have to evolve because someday it's going to come back. Now, I don't know what coming back looks like or what that means, but it could be just straight growth at the back and at the front, not the hairs on your head. You know, what you shave one armpit, you leave the other one, like lads.
Edgy.
Exactly.
Well, we've got a review of the Refined Cologne for you. It goes something like this: a clean and fresh scent designed for the refined gentleman. Opening with a light citrus burst, it dances around with gentle touch of sambric and jasmine before settling into the anchoring notes of vetiver and light woods. Refined is the essence of Manscaped, bottled. It's exactly what you were trying to say last week, wasn't it, Jim?
That's what it was, and basically, don't eat it. Okay, it's it sounds like you can. It sounds like you can eat it or drink it. Don't. But it smells good. I liked it anyway. It was edgy. That's me.
As I was saying, we do have a range of products to get you feeling smart, trimmed, and looking and feeling your best. So join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Get your hands on the Refined Cologne or the Perfect Package 3.0, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code RugbyPod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code RugbyPod at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Sunday's game, Wales Ireland. Were you guys impressed with Wales, or was it just the red card for Peter O'Mahony?
Well, Jim, again, you and I were wrong. Mainly you, because you've been bagging Wales for a long time, but you said you can't see it. I just can't see it. Wales are this, Wales are that. Alan Wynne-Jones passed it. How good was Alan Wynne-Jones? 1. 2, you need to eat some humble pie, Jim, because the Welsh, they won.
Happy.
Thanks to Peter O'Mahony's red card, basically.
Of course. I'm happy to admit it. Weren't overly impressed with Ireland, I'll be honest. I was impressed with Wales's physicality, especially Alan Wynne-Jones. That is the best I've seen him play in the loose in a long time. He looked thin. He looked like smaller than he did before. And he had a black eye and he had a few stitches from Jake Ball before he heads back to Australia.
Jake Ball absolutely slipping him, didn't he? Well, didn't get picked in the 23. He's having it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it seemed that way. I don't think he was up there. Wales was very physical. And could you imagine what they could have been like if they had a line out? There's all this stuff. I don't know if you've seen it on social media. I saw a few things flag up about the hooker, Ken Owens. It drives me mad that people think if a line-out doesn't function, it's down to the hooker. The poor hooker. Poor hookers. I mean, like you're the lowest paid in rugby anyway, according to the poll that we saw come out, right? You're generally not the best looking in the team when you're a hooker, without stereotyping. You're generally the smallest as well, and you ain't got a boot deal. And all you're doing is throwing the line out, and all you're doing is throwing the ball into the line out and hoping for the best. Like that's generally what happens. Like you're open to everything else. So I'm going to start on that because their line out was awful, and it always has been. So it's not down to John Humphreys, who was the Scotland forwards coach. It's not down to him. Alan Wynne-Jones is calling the lineouts. He's the captain.
Oh, mate, why are you being horrible? Why are you being horrible again, Jim?
I think we need
just pat him on the back. Just give him 1 week. Pat on the back.
Most cap player. He's an absolute legend. But you can't go into a Six Nations game without a lineout. It's crazy. And then Ken Owens can't get the blame for it. So Ireland, I'm going to be a bit of a nose here, are giving you the front. Mercy. Take the front. Take the front of the lineout. Poor Ken Owens. He's there. The call's been made. And it's like, right, throw to me, whoever it is, Tipperick, one of the best line-out forwards in the game. Throw to me. Mate, you got James Ryan stood next year. What am I meant to do? Close your eyes, Ken Owens. Get your Canterbury boots on. Hope that they're not looking to sponsor you again. And literally lob the ball in because it comes down to the calling. That's what I'm trying to say.
Going into a bit of detail and being a real rugby pig here, which, you know, line-outs were your area of expertise alongside giving penalties away and smashing rocks. You talk about the makeup of the back row, and you just said then Tipperick is an outstanding line-out forward. But you've got Alan Wynne-Jones and Beard as the 2 second rows. Have they genuinely got 3 options in the line-out? Or, you know, surely if, I know you're being given the front, but every team would say, give them the front, bar up at the middle and the back. but other teams still can get around it. What else is the problem except for, is it the system? Is it just the calling? Is it the fact that actually Tipuric isn't that good as a third option?
No, yes, I'd say Tipuric is probably better than Alan Wynne-Jones. I don't know if I'm being horrible. When he's jumping, he is. So Wales are a team you can see it a mile off that don't put any work into the line-out. New Zealand, the All Blacks were the same for years. I remember when we played against the All Blacks and Richie McCaw was calling the line-outs. I was like, if you're that arrogant to think that you're calling the line-outs, we're going to beat you by 20 points here. We lost by 40, but the line-out was great. But the All Blacks didn't put any work on it. They'd go into the line-out and they'd just literally throw it and hope that we wouldn't get up or whoever wouldn't get up. They put a load of work into it, realised that the driving line-out was important. You play in the Six Nations, the weather's miserable, it's about retaining possession and sustaining field position. Ireland got hammered at the line against England last year. Saw it, same thing. They were throwing to where England was strong. Now, without being a nose, Wales, you sort your line out. Simple. Throw to where it's on. One noisy bit of information. I might be wrong, and if any of you forwards coaches who are coaching the Six Nations, Paul O'Connell, if you listen to this, I'm happy for you to call me out on this. If you throw to the front of the line out, Steve Borthwick timed it. If you throw to the front of the line out, down to the scrum half and into the centre's hands, it is the same time that if the ball's in the air, the same time as if you throw to the tail of the line out, down to the scrum half into 12 hands. It's the same time. Obviously, the line speed is slightly different as you go up.
If my second row said to me, listen, I'm giving you off the top at 2 all day long from a full line out, I'd say, mate, fucking pack your bag and fuck off. I'll have someone else calling the line outs. Because
Scotland did. Scotland threw to the front, pass it down to the middle and hit Cam Redpath up in the centre.
Yeah, once, or, you can't do that for your whole game. So you need other plans. So you're right, they need to work on their line out, but you can't just say, I'll just take it at the front every line out and play off that, because that's shite. You need to change your numbers. You need to play for 5-man, 3-man, 6-man, whatever.
You need to have confidence. You can't go, but we're talking about line outs that are 6-7 metres out from the, I'm not talking about specifically this game, because I've only seen the line outs on a superficial thing. I've not looked at them on bird's eye. I've not gone on the stats and had a look at them properly. But I'm sticking up for Ken Owens here, saying that Wales are lucky to win that game with how bad their line-out was. So, they need to sort out. You look at Scotland's line-out, you look at England's line-out, you look at Ireland's line-out, France's, miles in front. Stop being horrible to Italy. Miles in front of Wales. So they're lucky to win the game off the way. And Ken Owens, let's get you a boot deal, big fella. Let's get you a boot deal, eh?
There's a lot of talk after the game about Johnny Sexton and whether he'll play this weekend. What are your thoughts?
Why are you being horrible? Why are you being horrible, Andy Rowe?
I liked his hair.
Did you notice what he did with it?
Shaved it, went short.
Because he's gone grey over lockdown. He's gone very grey over lockdown.
Has he got kids?
Yeah, he's got at least 2. Yeah. I remember seeing him in the pool when, you remember we had that dad bod off in the pool in Portugal. Just 2 legends.
What do you mean a dad bod off? It's not even, he's a professional athlete, Andrew.
True. But yeah, he's gone for the old number 3 all over, because the grey.
Who does a number 3? If you're going to do it, you've got to go number 1. You've got
fade
to go.
It. Or you've got to fade it in.
Fade.
Yeah.
That's what I've done. Looks like I've got mange. Johnny Sexton. He went down a couple of times again, didn't he? There's no doubt about it. I'm stumbling, I'm stuttering.
I thought he played well.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
He ain't getting dropped. He ain't getting dropped unless he's not fit.
The big question is, and they were talking about it on comms, poor Billy Burns. Not even poor Billy Burns. Has he hit that with his heel or not?
Oh, mate. It was. I feel for him. As a kicker, every kicker that's played any decent standard of rugby, you've done that at some point. And Johnny Sexton did it 10 minutes before that. So, and fair play to Johnny Sexton. He said it on his interview.
I've never done it.
But you ain't a kicker, mate.
Oh, true. Okay.
I'm trying to think. Do you reckon Johnny Wilkinson's ever done it? He's probably the only one that I could think, he wouldn't have done it. But
I'll ring him tonight and we can dissect it.
Yeah.
We might get onto Buddhism and stuff like that as well, which I'm happy to do.
Yeah, get the open cloth out. But yeah, I felt like you just want the ground to swallow you up. Poor Billy Burns. I mean,
especially as the last thing to happen.
Yeah, but Gareth Davis bought him about 30 points, I think, after the game to thank him for missing touch. So yeah, I mean, there's no need to give him pelters around it, which I'm sure a lot of people did on social media. I saw John Cooney put something out saying, unless you've walked in the shoes of a man or whatever that's been in that situation, which I thought was brilliant. I tweeted #bring back Cooney. Didn't think Conor Murray played that well.
I'm not just getting on the John Cooney train. I cannot believe he is not in that squad.
Yeah. See what we've done there? We've digressed away from Johnny Sexton to bring it back to Cooney. Get Cooney in the squad.
Put him in at 10.
I don't reckon that's the answer, but
what having Cooney in the squad does, it gives you that kick-in option at goal, which you know is hugely important. Then, if you bring in a Harry Byrne, let's talk of him playing Leinster, the younger brother to Ross, or you can go with a Billy. You've got someone like Cooney who can take the pressure off one of these young 10s coming in. Like Jameson Gibson Park, I thought he was slower than a week in the jail at the base. Genuinely, I've got no knowledge around speed of ruck, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, why is Cooney not in?
I don't get out, especially when you talk about that kicking option, goal kicking option. 100% believe that Cooney should be in the squad. It's interesting that you see, and there's a big decision to make now, because it could be the making or breaking of Billy Burns. I saw Brian O'Driscoll tweeted, get Harry Byrne on speed dial. Does Andy Farrell drop Billy Burns? I don't think he should. He may bounce back and have a stormer.
Surely
against
he can't
France
drop him
or come off the bench.
So if Andy Farrell is dropping Billy Burns for that, what do you think he's
saying?
saying? What do you think he's saying to Owen when he speaks to him on the phone?
I know. I don't want to fucking get better every day, kid. Fucking improve. But I'm not advocating that. I'm not advocating, to be clear, Billy Burns should be dropped. I felt horrific for him, and we are slightly biased because we know he's a top lad, and obviously we're mates with Freddie as well. But I thought his impacts on the game when he came on, he put a bit of zip on it, put some decent passes, that they looked to shift the ball quite well.
Yeah,
yes, he made
James Lowe's hands as well.
Yes, he made the error. So I'm not advocating that. But then when you've got Bod, the god in Ireland, tweeting saying Harry Burns, tweeting and saying get Harry Byrne on speed dial, and obviously this kid is something special, Harry Byrne. I've not seen him play personally. But you're hearing massive things coming out the Leinster camp. And is that the next guy to overtake Sexton? Is he ready now? How do you protect Billy Burns from, you think of someone like Matthew Tate going back donkey's years, got bullied by Gavin Henson, was hardly ever seen on the international stage again.
Where's Gavin now? Where is he talking about? I miss it.
He runs a pub with his I think he's selling
fake tan.
Yeah, fake tan out the back as well. But pubs are closed, so maybe he's not. But yeah, I mean, so many questions. And Sexton's the fulcrum of the team. How long can he go for? He shaved his head so he looks younger than he actually is. Who knows? They play France this weekend. Good luck to you.
Yeah, Italy needed a bit more luck after the weekend. Do we need to cut them some slack, or is plenty of chat around promotion and relegation after shipping 50?
Well, I saw a stat come out that Alan Wynne-Jones has got more caps than the whole of the Italian team. Hell of a stat, that.
Are you going to be horrible to Alan Wynne-Jones or Italy?
Probably just Italy now, because I'm just going to piggyback, what Sam Warburton said. Enough's enough, I reckon.
Mate, you're going full on, get rid of them.
You look at how competitive the other games are. You look at that game. So we know that England are playing Italy this weekend. And there ain't a chance in hell that Italy are winning. No chance at all. We thought
you're English again, aren't you, Jim?
If we win the championship, I could well be. We know that it ain't going to be a contest. Now, is that how we want to see the Six Nations going forward? I'm not saying that Romania or Georgia are going to do much better. I love Italy. I love the place, love the people. They are, in parts, getting better. Their skill set is just nowhere near where it needs to be.
Mate, Lucas Barandio, to be fair to him, I'm saying that's the try of the weekend.
Okay, well, great.
It was a great. You talk about skill. It was a great bit of skill.
Yeah,
but yeah. So you are. The thing is, the argument is, and I agree, something needs to be looked at. But if you bring Georgia in, who have won it again, the B6 Nations, they won it again this weekend. They beat Russia by, I think they're beaten by about 8 or 10 points. Don't know the exact score. I think they're still calling Wigsvilly. Graham Roundtree, actually, he messaged me at the weekend saying how painful is Jim going to be on the podcast this week. I know he listens. So, hello, Wig. But yeah, I mean, if you bring Georgia in, it's only going to be the same as what you're saying there, Jim.
Well, Scotland put 50 on them.
Yeah.
But
you also know that it ain't going to be a contest. So the question now becomes: do you go back to the 5 nations and ring fence it, or do you have a playoff game between Italy because they're going to finish bottom and Georgia because they've won it, or do you just have a straight promotion relegation? A straight promotion relegation doesn't change anything, I don't think.
But
I think
it gives
you can earn the right by having. Yeah, I think you can earn the right by having a playoff game.
Well, that's the thing that Warburton was saying. It gives profile to the other teams because it's not sustainable. The big question is when things get back to normal, would you rather go to Rome or would you rather go to Tbilisi or Moscow? I tell you what, I would like to go to Moscow. I'd just be a bit worried about drinking that vodka and being in a nightclub and not knowing where to go.
Mate, I spoke to a good friend of mine at the weekend who I'll just say he works in the formula driving industry, whether that be Formula 1, Formula E, Formula whatever else it is.
Let's just say Formula 1, it sounds more glitz.
But he said he went to one of the parties in Russia before one of the Grand Prix, and he said it's the best night of his life he's ever had. So
let's just get
I want a live show in Russia. Let's get to Moscow. Let's go to Moscow.
Just bring Russia straight and fast track and straight into the Six Nations. I'm sorry, Italy. As much as I love Italy and I love going there, Russia's the one.
Let's go back to that French side. How good was Antoine Dupont?
Best player in the world right now, I'm going to say.
Yeah, he might have been 4 out of 10. He was still the best player on the pitch by a country mile.
He's the best player in the world, I'm going to say right now. You talk about the best player on the pitch. No one's coming even close to his performances week in, week out at international level or club level at the minute in the world.
And how many 9s have you ever said about that before? Whoever says that the scrum half is the best player on the pitch? No. Like you're a scrum half, no disrespect. But normally you don't do standout things because you're the link between the forwards and the back, you're passing, you're kicking. Your highlight reel is normally inside trailing runs and scoring tries, which is obviously great. But it's very rare now in this modern game where you're talking about 9s and being like, this guy is phenomenal. And everyone's talking about Antoine Dupont.
The only other player that comes close to him at the minute, but he's not doing it on the international stage, is obviously Semi Radradra, but he's out for about 10 weeks now with his knees absolutely fucked.
Is it?
So, yeah.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, so Dupont's ridiculous. I think he creates 4 tries, scores 1 himself. You cannot speak highly enough of him. His all-round game is phenomenal, whether it's running, ball in hand, little short kicks, box kicking, defence, bringing energy, his passing game. He's ridiculous. He's comfortably, at the minute, the best player in the world. And Jim said player of the year. We only just started the year, Jim. Remember, it doesn't get voted till December.
We'll just call it now, though.
Yeah, just give it to him now.
Well, it's great to have the Six Nations back, and it's just as good to have the Guinness Pint Predictor on Match Pint back as well. Do you guys know how you got on the weekend?
I didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, garbage. Do you know what? I messaged, do you remember Neil Cochrane, Nelly, Jim?
Well, we were meant to go and play golf with him. I'm happy. I'm happy for my association.
We were, yeah. We had a golf day organised with him. Now, he's messaging me over the weekend, and I've looked back at my phone on Saturday night. He's messaged me again going, you were right, Goodey. I messaged him at 2:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, Friday night, call it what you will. When I'd woken up, a couple of painkillers, couldn't sleep for a bit, had a flick of the old phone. Mrs. has gone to one of the spare rooms because maybe that's where
Pablo's there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Well, I'm going to find him. Anyway, and I'd messaged him going, mate, I just got a feeling you might sneak it. And then what happened? So, and I also tweeted just before Wales against Ireland, I thought, I reckon Wales might do this. But did I change my match predictors on Guinness Match Pint? Did I? Damn, no, I didn't. So I'm annoyed with myself. But we both got, at least we got the result right for Italy against France. That Italy got hosed, but not by the right points.
Well, Steve GM did better than most people. He got 65 points. So congratulations to him for winning the round. And if you want to get involved, it's the same format as usual. Just download the Match Pint app from all good app stores, predict the scores, beat your mates, and win great rugby prizes, including signed shirts, ultimate home viewing bundles, and loads of great Guinness stash. Each week is a new round with prizes to be won, and you can join the UK's biggest private league with the code RugbyPod. as well. Well, let's get your predictions for round 2 then, lads. England v Italy.
England by 40.
Well, I was going to say that. England by 44.
Okay, I'll go 43.
Scotland v Wales.
I think I should go first here.
You go first.
Because I am going to back my friends in blue. My Scottish friends north of the border.
You haven't got many friends up here.
By 8.
Got many friends. Scotland
by 8. Mate. Yeah, Finn Russell, we had a bit of message banter over the weekend. So, yeah, Hoggy, I've spoken to him before. Jim Hamilton lives in Scotland.
Very similar characters, you and Finn. Yeah. I am going to say...
Scotland by 8. Scotland by 8.
I'm going to say it's going to be tough. And the reason being is Scotland don't score many tries and Wales have got a good defence.
Wales have got lots of injuries. 6-day turnaround.
Oh, you're convincing me. Scotland by 9.
Scotland have got a couple of hangovers. That's about it.
Oh, it's a hard one to call. I'm going to say Scotland by 9, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer.
Ireland and France.
The only thing in the back of my mind, Jim, and it's because of you Scottish folk again. What happened when everyone expected France to go up to Edinburgh last year in the Six Nations and win? They didn't, did they?
No.
There's always that nagging. Always that. There was fans there last year. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it was the last game. Yeah, there was fans. Yeah.
Mohamed Ouas got sent off for the old punch.
Ouas got sent off.
Jeremy Ritchie.
Yeah.
So that's the only nagging thing in my head. But I'm going to say France. France by 6.
Oh, I'm going to go France by 9. I like the number 9 at the minute. Dupont. It's Dupont. See what we've done there? It's often put that thing in your head.
Best player in the world.
Should we have a quick look at the Premiership?
Go on then.
Sale. Big win for them away at Bristol.
Unreal.
Yeah, no Friday night semi for me or semi Ramjandra for Bristol. I was devastated. When I've tuned in, I'm like, Friday night ruggers, semi's on. Semi's just going to carve. No, he's not. He's out for 10 weeks with a knee injury.
Big loss at Bristol's. Yeah, big loss at Bristol.
They lost Stephen Luatua before the game as well to injury. But Sale, mate, Alex Sanderson's been there 3 weeks. Hard as fuck already, all those boys.
Yeah.
Like John O'Ross, banging boys for fun. Faf de Klerk, he's about 3'1" and about 40 kilos. He's banging boys for fun as well.
Sam Hill, Sam James.
But also, AJ McGinty, again, 2 bits of skill to win them the game. It's always a tight game. And people talk, I dropped in that Owen Farrell might be signing for Sale last week. And people came back to us and said, why was the silence after that, Jim? Because that's how Jim wanted to leave it. But AJ McGinty, I was joking, by the way, about Owen Farrell. Or was I? AJ McGinty, again, the flat ball at the line, under pressure, to put them over in the corner to win the game. Phenomenal. It's a dead chuff for him. He's got Irish roots as well, or even though he's American. He's good friends with Craig Doyle. So, proper performance, hard to beat, big win.
2 away games. Beat Leicester, beat Bristol. They've got Bath, I think, at home this week.
Oh, my Bath.
Yeah. Oh, my bubble Bath.
Do you reckon we should judge Quins on whether they could back it up week after week? And they did it again this week, at least, didn't they?
They did. And I think everyone has said that. It's not just me. Jim has said that as well. Many people inside their own club have said that. I read a really good interview by Adam Jones at the weekend, talking about the razzmatazz, but also trying to find some hard-nosed ruggers as well when they need it, because they haven't won very much by just going for the razzmatazz the whole time. But they played well at Bath. And all I'm going to say is, what about the inspirational video? Have you seen this? The inspirational video that Bath put out around Stuart Hooper giving out the jerseys to the debutants before the game?
No, I didn't. No, please elaborate.
Basically, spine tingling is the complete opposite word of what you'd think about. Stuart Hooper addressing the troops. I said it the other week. I've heard he's lost the changing room.
Well, tell us more about the shirts. Well, give me an example. So if you're Hoops and then I'm a Bath young lad,
it's like lads want to hand out the debut jerseys again. And,
just spit it out, coach. I'm the player. Yeah. Just spit it out.
And obviously the most capped player today is Samisa.
Who?
Rocket Gooney, obviously.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know that, coach. Didn't know that was his nickname.
Anyway, so Misa walks forward. Boys give
just give him a shirt, mate.
Boys give him a bit of a clap. He's like, "Yep, that's right, lads. Give him a clap. Give him a clap." Anyway, he's like, "I'd like to start off," and he can't even think of what he's saying. Pulls up the shirt, like turns it round to check the name. I'd like to start off with, and I'm gonna say Dave. His name was Dave. I'd like to start off with Dave. There you go. No, mate. First game at Bath. You've worked exceptionally hard. Come through the academy. You're an
absolute legend. Here's a pay rise.
Give some detail. Just went, there you go. Yeah, bit of a clap, and then someone else.
And they post this on social.
Yeah, mate, it's awful. Have a look at it. Honestly, it's awful. So yeah, but then you can see there's not a great feeling around the squad. Their performances are abject at best, and it's basically who's going down from the Premiership, because ring fencing isn't with us completely yet. It's one of 3 teams from the West Country. It's either Bath, Worcester, or Gloucester at the minute, and Bath they've got too much quality, I think, but they're in a bit of a quandary because they're playing pretty badly. But tip the slipper to Quins again. Going away from home, barring up again. Can they do it next week, though, Jim?
Who knows?
It wasn't a classic, but Sam and Joe Simmons showed Eddie Jones what they can do again, and glimpses, didn't they, as Exeter won up in Newcastle?
Yeah, horrible game in the snow up at Newcastle. Apparently it was about minus 60 degrees.
I wouldn't have flinched.
No, you wouldn't, Jim. I wouldn't have felt it either because I had so much fat around the body that I don't feel the cold.
But you might have lost a leg.
Yeah.
You got frostbite.
Yeah, true. Sam Simmons picks off the base, shows how quick and powerful he can be, scores a try. I mean, Sam Simmons has now got 9 tries in 8 Premiership games. Eddie Jones, maybe pick him some. Maybe just.
I know that because you tweeted it.
Yeah, just give him a shout, Eddie. Just pick him.
Just knock on his door.
Yeah. So
yeah, because COVID, China.
Yeah, true. But yeah, Exeter, they're not sparkling, but it was just an efficient win.
What happened with Wasps, Goodey?
What happened? What's happened there?
Do you know what? I'll tell you. So last week,
the Eddie Goose week was full. Oh no, it weren't.
So last week against Quins, we sat back, watched them play, and you'll know about this, Jim. We sat back, watched them play, got overran, took 49 points, not 50, 49. Then what do you do all week, probably? You probably work on your physicality, your line speed, getting off the line, being physically dominant, all those words. Yeah. And they're playing, the game's on a bit of a knife edge in the first half against Northampton. Decent game, to be fair. Kieran Brooks flies into a ruck. No arms in the ruck, gets yellow carded, rightly so. But that's, he's trying to show some physicality, some aggression, gets his time wrong at a ruck, yellow card, 100%. Off he goes to the bin. Both teams have had a load of pressure, nearly scoring tries. 5 minutes later, not even 5 minutes later, maybe 2 minutes later, Saints have got the ball around the halfway line. They play out the back. Ball player, who's a forward at the front of the line, plays it out the back. Literally 2 seconds later, James Gaskell flies in, shoulder square into the back. Late tackle. It's not even a late tackle. It's like last week, late. Gets a yellow card, rightly so. Next minute, Northampton Saints drive us about 40 yards for a try. Driving line out. We conceded 3 tries when we had 2 boys in the sin bin. 22-0 down, I think it was. Pretty much game over. But they fought back and played some decent ruggers and I think it was 22-17 in the end, wasn't it? Yeah. And ended up losing 22-17. And basically, it boiled down to that fine line between we're getting off the line, we're smashing people, and we're being ridiculously ill-disciplined. And
just a load of excuses, basically. Just a load of excuses.
They've only got James Gaskell has only got himself to blame.
I've seen James Gaskell walking his dog around Leamington, and it looked like he was walking a mouse. Now that's how I'm judging a man. Who has got a dog that looks like a mouse? That says it all for me. Get rid of him. No, mate, don't be horrible. But yeah, ill discipline. Fair play to Northampton. That Adendorf's a good player. Big, hard, physical. Kieran Brooks was trying to prove a point against his old employers. Gave a few pens away at scrum time. So yeah, Saints deserve the victory. An improvement from Wasps from the week before, but not perhaps what we wanted.
Right, then let's finish off with the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is brought to you by the good people at Suns, who are helping countless of men out there with one of the key health issues that they don't often talk about how to keep their hair. They're a men's health brand that offer a range of licensed and medically proven products for preventing and treating hair loss, as well as free online consultations with GPs, and they deliver via a monthly or 3-monthly subscription direct to your door. It's reasonably priced with no hidden charges, and most importantly, they get results in 9 out of 10 men. So just visit sons.co.uk and use the code RugbyPod20 to get 20 quid off your first order. That's sons.co.uk, and the code is RugbyPod20.
We'll start with a good, Jim, and one very close to your heart. Who takes 50 by the Ealing Trailblazers? The Ealing Trailblazers, you're going to get a mention in the good this week, putting 50 points on Saracens. Well, it's 39, but we'll call it 50 anyway. Absolutely hosing them, putting their pants down.
39 to 50.
Right, it's near enough, isn't it?
Just
39
to 35.
Round it up to 50 points. So fair play to the Trailblazers. They've done them twice. And interestingly, the Championship Rugby fixtures got announced today with the playoff structure as well. So that will become a more interesting watch as the season develops, especially if there is no ring fencing, as some people don't want to see it. A lot of people do want to see it, especially Gloucester fans, Worcester fans and Bath fans, because one of them could be going doon if there's no ring fencing. But tip the slipper to the Ealing Trailblazers. What else was good? Well, we mentioned him earlier. Dupont, ridiculously good. Set up 4 tries, scored one himself. Best player in the world by far in France's demolition of Italy. We'll stay on the France theme, and we'll have to give him a mention. Montpellier, Jim.
Did they win now?
Finally got a victory, 31-6 over Stade Francais after 9 straight losses. So
I thought they won last week. There you go. I didn't see it.
No, they lost last week. They won this week against Stade Francais, 31 points to 6. So they get a mention in the good this week after being in the bad for quite some time. What else was good? Let's go to the Premiership and big Alex Sanderson and Sale. It was a real gritty northern performance with a few Saffers thrown in there as well. And a great win down at Bristol on Friday night. We said it earlier, AJ McGinty, 2 quality bits of skill, crossfield kick, and then a seed right at the line to win it for him. So hell of an effort from everyone involved with Sale to win down there. They're looking good for the season. Staying in the Premiership, Jim, and going to Exeter, but actually up in Newcastle. Sam Simmons, mentioned him earlier, scored his 9th try in 8 games in the Premiership. Eddie, just give him a call, mate. Just get him in the squad as soon as possible. It might not be this week because you're restricted to making changes, but give him a call. If you haven't got his number, I've got it on speed dial, so I can forward it on to you. Sort yourself out, Eddie. Get Sam Simmons in the squad. He needs to be in there 100%. What else is good? One for Jim.
Just say it. Just go straight to it. That's
what
the masses are waiting.
Build up to it.
All right.
One for Jim. Alan Wynne-Jones. And Wales, basically. Both of them.
I agree. Apart from the line out, I agree.
Just proving Jim Hamilton and quite a few other people wrong. It must be really good for Wayne Pivac to have a few pats on the back this week. They were physical. Alan Wynne-Jones led from the front with physicality, with ball carrying, some quality bits of play. Lewis Rees-Summit, try in the corner, decent finish to win it. So well done to everyone in Wales. There's been a lot of pressure on you. They're probably glad that fans haven't been around the game because they'd have jumped on their backs, but they got the victory over Ireland and fully deserved. We'll go one more good. It isn't the good, but it's going to get a mention. I talked about it earlier. Italy getting bagged left, right and centre, but Luca Sperandino, a wonderful try, individual bit of brilliance for him. Little chip over the top, some good hands down the line, then a little chip over the top. Regathers himself, scores near enough under the post. So Six Nations try of the weekend for me, that was, and an Italian to score it. Well done to Luca Sperandino. And then the good. Well, I can't give it to Wasps.
Why Huffin though?
I can't give it to any of my old teams, but I will happily give it to one of Jim's old teams. Jim, you brought Scottish rugby on its knees, down to its knees, for many years as a player. Now you've turned into a pundit. You're a top of the range pundit. Your influence over that Scottish team with your punditry was phenomenal. Scotland, a first win at Twickenham since 1983, dominant in every facet of the game. The game plan, they outcoached Eddie Jones. They outthought the England team. They outmuscled the England team. They outfought for absolutely everything. Scotland, you were amazing. I stand here, doff my cap to you. Myself and Jim Hamilton didn't think you could win.
I knew they'd win.
You didn't just win Scotland. You absolutely dominated England in everything but scoreboard. We'll give Finn Russell's drop goal charge down at the end a bit of a miss, because imagine if that had turned around to a try for England at the other end and you'd have lost. But Scotland, unbelievable performance. You deserve every plaudit you get, and you get the good this week.
And off the back of that, I'm sure a few people next year, when you come up to Scotland, Andrew, we do a couple of live shows, will buy you a tenant or 15 and put you in a hole. Hopefully that's what happens.
Well, I just drink Guinness and black, mate. You know that. So.
No, you're not allowed up there.
There we go. Yeah, looking forward to imagine doing a live show again now in Scotland. How good would that be? And I'd wear a Scotland shirt for it just because you beat us. No, I wouldn't get that far. But fair play to Scotland. The bad. Let's go into the bad then and start off with Jake Ball bag. Jake Ball, you do not punch Alan Jones in the face. You just do not do that. Do not give the captain a black eye and fill him in. Maybe that should go in the good, because that got the reaction, and that's why Wales won.
Arguably.
But Jake Ball bag, ball eye, ball whatever you say, please don't punch Alan Jones again, because you just don't do that to an absolute legend. Do you, Jim?
I'll agree with you. Yeah, all
right. That's pretty bad. What else about Dan Lydiot's injury? Feel really sorry for him. He's worked incredibly hard to get back into some tip-top form and playing exceptionally well. And unfortunately, it looks like an ACL. Don't want to write him off completely, but it's going to be exceptionally hard to get back to those levels again after so many injuries. Really sad to see that happen. What else was bad? I've got to get one of my old teams in somewhere, haven't I, Jim?
Wasps.
Saracens. I played at Saracens for 18 months. They're going to bad this week. They lost to the Ealing Trailblazers. 50 points to 26, we'll call it.
No one saw it. No one saw it.
I'm telling the millions now. It was actually 39-26, but they lost again. So we'll stick them in the bad. But the bad, I mean, cut to the chase. I don't need to say anything else is bad this week, except for one person, one team, and just one entity. And that is Eddie Jones.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's fine.
England Rugby. We're getting the bad this week, especially Eddie Jones. He said he didn't prepare the team as well as he could, and they were lacklustre. Our discipline was shocking. 15 penalties, mainly Maratoji. It's the most England have ever given away in a match since 2011. Plan A didn't work. Plan B doesn't get coached. There is no plan B. Eddie Jones, England Rugby, you're getting the bad this week.
I might text him and ask him why Ollie Lawrence didn't get the ball.
Mate, do you not see the game, mate? The position, mate. We had 25% position, mate. You not see the game.
Imagine
mate, selection's easy, mate, after the game, isn't it? Like, in hindsight, shut up, Eddie. Pull the team together and let's do Italy by at least 10 points, please. The ugly, a few bits of ugly. We'll start off in France. Colomiers had 2 red cards and a yellow card inside the first 20 minutes of their game against Biarritz in the Pro D2. One of them was for a tackle, and I've watched the tackle. Do you remember Francis Saïli?
No, he probably knows me, though.
Yeah, honestly, he was. I played against him once.
Do you think you saw me on the TV at the weekend?
Probably, yeah. I think millions did, mate, and you look great. You had the coat hanger still on the back of your shirt.
I know him then. I know him.
Yeah, he's a hard carrier. He got dumped on his head like you wouldn't believe in the game. So that was a red card. Then there was another one as well. Got ugly, and it was French, so that gets a mention.
Didn't say
what else is ugly? Johnny Williams' tackle on Gary Ringrose. Not happy with that one. All about line speed, all about care of duty and all that stuff. As a tackler, just get low, mate. Johnny Williams, unfortunately, he'll miss this weekend's game due to the concussion protocol, as he got knocked out as well. And then the fact that he played on isn't a great look for the game either, because he made a couple of tackles after that. But the ugly this week can only go to one guy, and that is Peter O'Mahony, or as Jim calls him, Peter
O'Mahony.
He's the first Irishman to be sent off in the Championship for 44 years since 1977. So it wasn't a great look. Wayne Barnes called it the chicken wing. He's flown into Thomas Francis's head, and it was a deserved red card. So that gets the ugly this week.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, Producer Tim, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe on whatever platform you get your podcasts on. Leave us a review and check us out on YouTube as well.
It's home. It's bloody home. It's a rugby pod.
Pod.